guys, welcome back to another episode of the Ike MMA podcast or the Ike MMA show, whichever you prefer. And I'm joined in studio with Timothy, aka the Celtic assassin, Balogh. Is it Balogh or or
Uh, it's pronounced Balo, but a lot of people normally get it mixed up anyway. So you're not the first person to get
I,
that mixed up.
I know that definitely for going forward in the future, David Balogh.
Yes, sir.
No, no, I said David there. Timothy Balogh. God, what's wrong with me? Sorry,
Long day.
sorry, sorry about that. Timothy, how are you feeling?
I'm doing good, man. Just chilling. Just been grinding, work and a little bit of training. Just trying to get Christmas weight off.
No, same here. Same here. I've been very careless with my diet. I mean, so I was say I'll take get the Christmas weight off, but this is where I've been putting on since the summer.
Yeah.
um, Look, for me, this interview is almost overdue because I've been meaning to talk to you for a long time. Bit routine stuff happened, including my old laptop that died, so I had to take time getting that replaced. But what really attracted us and got me really what I want to speak to is that your background and your story is quite, it's quite unique. And you did send me through some content that I should look through, and I listened to what you said in that video, and I say it was really, really touching that you're someone who's really, really had to work from the ground, and I mean really work from the ground upwards to get to where you are today. So I mean, can you give us a bit of like your I know I've kind of heard it myself, but there's nothing that compares to asking the person themselves and you hear it straight from the horse's mouth, if you know what I mean.
Yes, sir. I mean, what would you like to know?
No, as
There's
in
a lot.
I was gonna ask you as in why you chose to go into combat sports, specifically MMA, but I wanted to get just some insight into your background and where you come from, your backstory basically.
Yes. So I grew up in a small town of Burgaw of North Carolina in the United States. Um, it's a very not very many people even outside of around North Carolina don't really know about it unless you like live in the surrounding areas. Um, the nearest like major city I should say is Wilmington. That's actually where UFC middleweight Derek Brunson is.
I
Um,
see. Okay.
so yeah, and just backstory, just growing up, my parents, like, my dad was a mover. He was a truck driver, mover. So he was mainly just, he was always out on the road. And, anytime there was a fatherly duty, he was always there. So he definitely didn't miss any like major events in terms of like my childhood. He would be there as best he could, but, he would be out sometimes. But my mom, on the other hand, she like as soon I was diagnosed in '96, according to her, um, a lot of parents, there's a not only is there a spectrum and like an autism spectrum for different levels for the and that there's also, in my opinion, the spectrum of the parent. Um, and what I mean by that is you'll meet whenever their child is diagnosed with it, whatever major level, you'll see like how their parenting style is. And unfortunately, some of it is not, in my opinion, is pretty intelligent. Some of it is like they don't really put a lot of effort. Some of them don't really put a lot of effort into like making sure that, individual becomes independent in the future. So it's pretty homebound. And that was definitely not my mom. And also another thing is like a lot of them would like to get government benefits, that type of thing. Um, and what else? It's just like my mom had a friend who had a child on the spectrum, of course, but she would always go to my mom saying like, "Oh, we can get them helmets and stuff like that," and like that type of deal. So like really no effort into like trying to make things
Yeah,
better
yes,
instead
yeah.
of like progressing. And so my mom really did a lot of the work in terms of like making sure that that was never the case at all, I and I am the product of that. As as you can see, I'm able to talk to you fluently, and I've been able to live a very independent life
Yes, yeah, I can
and
see
stuff
that.
like that. Now, in terms of like why I wanted to get into combat sports, it's because of so I grew up wanting to be more military. I wanted to go in the military. That was like ever since I was very little, I've always that was like my dream. I went to Paris Island twice on separate occasions. One was for my cousin who went to the Marine Corps Reserves. Um, he did okay in that, and he's out now, and he's doing his own thing. Um, and also, and I don't know the exact term of it, but I called them workers, like not your babysitters, but they were like the special needs day takers.
Yeah.
I called them workers. So like she was also in the Marines. I went. That was the second time I went, and I just like and right away I fell in love with the idea of going in the Marine Corps. And I did my research to an extent as a child. And if you would have asked me at 18 years old, why do I want to be a soldier? It would probably be for the wrong reason. Like like the cool badass of like, oh, it's going to war, going in there to fight,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
but now these days, like I've developed my warrior ethos, and I've done like I love that lifestyle, and I continue to do that to this day. Uh, and so yeah, so that went on, and it mainly started in middle school, or it was from childhood to middle school and then to high school, and then high school is like where it really started to take off in terms of like because we had a JRTC program, Junior Reserves Officer Training Corps, in my high school, and I did that for 3.5 years. I wanted to do it immediately as soon as I got to high school, but for some reason I had to take a semester of PE, which is kind of stupid in my opinion. Um, like the
Okay. Yeah.
classroom part of it anyway. But in those 3.5 years, I feel like I did exceptionally well. I made that a point, especially to my mom. And my mom was supportive, but she was also, obviously, as a mother, very worried about me going to war at the time of when there's conflict and stuff like that. So she understood that. But in my mind at the time, I was like, I don't care. I'm willing to fight for my country and still do to this day, but I'm very more smart about it now. And I that was just like my end goal. Like I didn't have like a plan B or anything like that. I like I was not interested in anything else. Like she would just suggest like like mechanic or just something like that was not in my realm. Like I was interested in like if there was anything military related to
Yes.
some
Yeah.
extent or any warrior type thing, I was that gravitated towards me, and and it still do. And I wish there was. I mean, obviously, police officer, but that was a whole different thing. I feel, you know,
So I mean,
not that that's out of the realm of possibility, but yeah.
no, not to sorry to interrupt you, but when you said that at 18, all that really mattered to you that you were almost transfixed with the idea of serving in the U.S. military. Um, didn't also, th- and not to discredit what you did for such a decision you took at such a young age.
Hmm.
Didn't the fear of, well, you know how war works. Um,
Yep,
there's always a possibility that you may not come back if you know what I mean.
I was fully aware of that.
Okay. All
I
right.
was fully aware of that, and was willing to do what I had to do if that were to happen. Still do, but I'm more, like I said, I'm more smart about it. Like, and I didn't have like at that age, I would be like, I don't care. Like, I don't have like you know what I mean? I don't. not really sure to really explain that. But yeah, I did good in the charity C. I was part of a Raider team. Raider team is just basically a physical fitness team.
Okay, I see.
It's basically the backbone of the charity program. Did that in there. Made it up the ranks. Went to the summer camps. Going off of rappel towers, which is something I'm not really fond of. I'm not a fan of heights, but it's something you have to do, and a bunch of other stuff. You know, um, it was very close to a boot camp. I was I felt like this is it. Like, and taking up the hobby of airsoft, I still have my kit. You know, it is also set for real life situations. So there's that. There's that. Um, yeah. So 3.5 years, I made it to the rank of battalion commander, which is a lieutenant colonel, a cadet lieutenant colonel. Um, that made local news at the time because it was uh, and I don't know if this is true or not. People can call me out for it or not. I think I am the first person on the spectrum to do it. I could be wrong. I mean, I'm not. I don't want to take credit for something I'm not the first at. But as far as I'm concerned, I haven't heard anything about it, and that made the local news, the ceremonies and stuff like that. And I was not. And also, I want to point this out. I was not the first choice. I was like a secondary because the what happened was the battalion commander at the time was he was going off to college early, and there were a bunch of other capable people doing it, but uh, my instructor um, felt like uh, I was ready to take the job, and I took the job and stuff like that. So I took that with I was very humble with that. So I high school for me was like the greatest years of my life, and I still carry that it was the best. I made tons of good friends. My best friend from high school is actually my roommate. So
Ah, okay.
yeah, and I also did track. Uh, it's been part of the family for a very long time actually. Doing track and stuff like that. Um, it's part of the 2013 state championship we won, and yeah, being able to like really like you know be the person I wanted to be in high school, especially, and being around people that really cared about you. Because I'm not gonna like elementary to middle school were the most difficult years of my life. They like a lot of a lot of bullying would happen, not just from kids, but from adults, as it turns out. As it comes out a lot. Um, there was definitely like and I don't really care if this person is alive or not, but I'll say her name. I remember one particular teacher. Her name was Miss White, um, and not only was she like abusive towards me, she was abusive towards other kids as well in terms of verbal. She's like very very verbal, and and you know we were able to voice that and able to get her fired. And there was
Ah,
another
okay.
teacher,
Good. Okay.
and there was another there was another teacher we had that I remember seeing happen. She was a special ed teacher, and out of the corner of my eye, I see her. I don't remember if she pushed or like slightly kicked a Down syndrome uh, child, just nonchalant. And there was a bunch of other stuff that she was doing that was not really regulated either, and we got her fired and stuff like that. Yeah,
Mm.
some crazy shit.
Thing
But
is,
yeah, elementary and middle school were terrible. But
thing is, people like that, I mean, they might get fired or dismissed from a particular job, but how do you guarantee that they will not get rehired in a similar position?
I believe the one who kicked the Down syndrome child was able to find work. and I believe we were able to tell them, hey, this is what this person did, just to give you a heads up. So I don't know what happened to her. I don't really care, and not my problem. Well, it is to an extent, but my hope is that she's not in the education system anymore. But yeah, definitely was like up until high school, like before high school, it was very depressing. Like I was just like, it would always be like being bullied. And me and my mom did have our ups and downs because of like she would always she went through a lot as a kid, and not like anything bad or anything like that, but she just like there were times where we would just snap at each other and stuff like that. But it was never anything bad. But we had our ups and downs, but it was
Sure.
definitely, especially now we're able to understand a lot more. But yeah, and then so after high school, or actually, um, I went to a Marine recruiter in high school. My mom would always tell me that you need to tell them that you have autism. Now, I was gonna flat out go like the don't ask, don't tell kind of policy kind of thing in terms of that. I was just like, no, they can find out themselves. And at this point, I think that's probably the best thing to do anyway. Um, I remember telling the Marine Corps recruiter, and I never heard from that recruiter ever again. Um, and that hurt. That hurt a lot. Um,
Mhm.
so my next best option was to talk to a National Guard recruiter, and this one actually did seem interested, as all recruiters do. Sorry, like these sweaty fucks, you know. But sorry. Um, um, yeah. So I talked to him. He seems very interested because he was like always around the school and stuff like that, just trying to get recruiters or trying to recruit um, students. Um, had him along for about a year after high school, but also like prior to that, I told him I had autism, and he told me because of that, that automatically disqualifies you from joining.
Mm.
Now, unless we have a draft, which I wouldn't be surprised of that, honestly, but you know, then you could. But at the time, no, you can't. And that really hurt. Like I was like, wow, I put all that effort into really nothing, and
Mm.
that sucked. But he was like, if you do good in the in MEPS or the ASVAB rather, the ASVAB test, then and if they happen to see it, then if you have a good score, but you have autism, that would kind of, I don't know, it would kind of like you're kind of throwing away a good product, I guess, as the best I can really explain it. So I went to MEPS, did the best I could in the ASVAB. Prior to that, I studied the best I could, but I was also working a part-time job that was very demanding for some reason, like maybe 4 or 5 days out of the week, and working like weird schedules in terms of like I would either be working in the morning or working at night. So that was always like bad in terms of trying to get in like study time in, but I did the best I could. And I went to MEPS, took the test, did the best I could in my opinion, and just basically having them tell me that sorry, uh, no good. So you have to wait in the lobby. I was waiting because the recruiter was also like prepping one of his recruits, just doing the physical and stuff like that, getting her orders. So I'm just waiting in the lobby,
Mm.
trying to hold in tears and stuff like that because I'm just like, wow, like it's just like, yeah, it was very overwhelming. And then I left that part-time job, and I got a full-time job working at the metal factory in my hometown
Sure.
that I was able to like go out get a apartment for myself, um, and just live on my own. And then about a few months later, like I get a call from that recruiter again. He was saying like, "Oh, you can try again. Just try." And he's just telling me like, oh, "We can try again." And then he was like, "Hold on, like I'm in a meeting." Well, that must have been a long ass meeting because I haven't heard from him since.
Wow.
So
Oh,
I was just like, "Wow, well, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss, but I was like, f you, dude. That like f you." And that's kind of how I feel about
mm,
most, if not all, recruiters,
yeah,
especially they basically just shoot themselves in the foot in
yeah,
terms of that regard. But and so during that time, I was very much like I was getting more into like MMA stuff, like watching it. Um,
yeah,
I watched the bits and pieces, but I really got into it during my senior year, and just my inspiration was George St. Pierre because of that, because of his upbringing and
yeah.
stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, and and during that time, Connor won the interim pellet title, and that's when I started training. I'm also a fan of him, or at least I was a fan of old Connor. Let's say
No, no,
that.
yeah. The fame's
Yeah,
really
I'm.
gone to his, well, the fame, as in, well, from what I've been hearing, he can't go anywhere at all,
Yeah,
especially in his home country, home city of Dublin, without being mobbed by a gang or group of girls or whoever. Always has to have
right.
his own
Yeah,
private security around him.
right. Yeah, yeah. So so there was a gym in my hometown. It's more jujitsu oriented, but they do kickboxing and stuff like that. And I actually went there before during school or high school when I was dating someone there at the time, and I was only going there because she was there, pretty much. A lovely girl, but she broke up with me. So, and then but I just started focusing on track and charity and stuff like that. And then I obviously after all that mess out of high school, the recruiter stuff, I was like, man, like I could really get into MMA. And my mom was like, obviously, again, she was like very scared of that because
Yeah,
she's seen what I've seen and stuff like that.
I was just thinking, okay, there's the your backstory, but then now you're going to move into something combat sports, which can be deadly, and brutal. So then with everything that you'd gone through leading up to that point in your life, was there no serious objections from her, your mom, saying no, sorry, but we can't allow this, we can't support it. We really want you to try your hand at something completely different.
Right. Well, she was in that like the military thing. She was like, I don't like what's going on over there at the time. With this, however, she's supportive of it. Like she's always been supportive of it, and she's only been to maybe 2 or 3 fights out of the 9 fights that I've had, and it's only because she doesn't want to be there for when I get hurt. Like
Mm.
she would, and I understand. Like I understand that. I'm not gonna judge her for that at all. But and she's been to like I said to some of them,
Mm.
and but she she's not into violence as
Okay.
as so much as me rather, or I like acceptable.
Really?
um, yeah, I'm the only like I have 2 older brothers. I'm the only one that's doing this stuff. I'm the only one with tats and stuff like that, and I'm
Okay.
the and as the joke of being the mother's favorite. Just joking. But right. So where was I gonna?
So you were what you were what over here we would consider the baby of the house.
Yes, yes, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes,
Oh, I can understand that.
yeah, yeah. absolutely. And so yeah, after all that mess with trying to get in the military for so long and having my full time job, I was able to, live on my own, all that stuff. And I was like, you know what? I really want to get into trying this out. And I did. And I trained for about a good year.
Mhm.
We had an MMA coach there at the time. He's no longer there. He's moved on to better things, like just living life. You um, he got me into it. His name is Joe. Uh, Joe Sabertooth. He was an amateur for quite some time. I was actually there cornering him in his last amateur fight. Was not a happy camper because the way he lost.
Mhm.
He's basically going against an old teammate of his, and they were. But that's another thing. Um, so he knows Derek Brunson, which like come like sometime later when I made my amateur debut. But trained for a year, and then like about that time in, a promoter from the local Wilmington area was looking for a fighter at 125. Now at the time, I was walking around 135 ish.
Okay.
Uh, so it was a 2 week notice and try to make 125. I made that weight in 2 weeks. It sucked. It was, and as people would describe me at that time, I was a walking skeleton, basically.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I made that weight. I and that fight got canceled on his end.
Why?
Yeah,
Did you find out why?
I never knew why. I never
Mm.
knew why. It just I was just told it fights off because the guy, like, I don't know.
Mm.
Everybody else is because he was scared.
Of you?
Like,
Of losing?
apparently, apparently, I guess making my
Oh,
debut. I don't know why. Uh, yeah, and then so I was. Um, then they had me in a grappling match, just a grappling match and stuff like that for the show. 5 minutes before the show even starts, and you're like, and I think I was like the first grappling match of the night. That guy's not there. There's a grappling match. It's a grappling match, and the guy, and 5 minutes before the show even starts, he's not there. So that was a waste of my time and stuff like that. But it led on to better things because then I was able to make my debut the next couple of months later, coming into the year of 2017. It was Next Level Fight Club, January 28th of 2017. Yeah. Um, that was a big moment for me. It was really good. It was really great. A lot of family was there. My mom was there.
mm.
One of them, and my dad and a lot of family and stuff like that. Derek Brunson was there.
Ah,
Derek Brunson was there. He was cornering somebody from his gym, I believe.
sure.
Um, and they're great people, really. Um, and I know Derek from, like, we just know each other, and just like by name and stuff like that. So I mean, but still, that's pretty cool. I was like, oh shit, this is Derek Brunson. Like, I've seen him on TV and stuff like that. That's cool. you know.
Yeah.
And my coach knows him because I think they grew up in the amateur scene. I think they were in a promotion together or something like that. But when I, man, dude, when I was waiting for my fight to, man, I was about to, like, like I was about to pee my pants kind of thing. But I was just like, oh man, like, what am I doing here? What am I doing? But then it just, like, it dawned on me. I was like, dude, you know why? Like, because, like, you need to make, like, you need to make this happen.
Mm.
I think, and I went out there, performed, got the win, smashed the dude's face. That was fun. Um, and then after that, you know, it was a good time. Derek saw it, congratulated me and stuff like that. And I knew this was something I wanted to do. Um, and do it to the best I can and see how far I can go with it. And then, I had two more fights after that on a winning streak. They that went pretty good. And then leading into 2018, I had my first loss. Um, and then and just after that, it's been mixed up and stuff like that, and you know, pretty much until we lead to this day, really.
For you to lose, with some, well, not lose, but for you to make that weight, excuse me, for you to make that weight, as in, did you have to, in such a short space of time, did you have to drastically drop your calorific intake, use the sauna virtually every day, probably even twice a day? Was it that drastic to get your weight down to that specific figure?
For 125.
Correct, yes.
For that time, yes. In 2 weeks, it was very dramatic. It was like I had to eat ice, that type of thing, and wear sweats a lot. And keep in mind, like the metal factory that I work at, it's basically a warehouse. And in the summer, and so trying to like cut that weight off as much as you can, but also like don't die at work. Make sure like you're not a casualty at work kind of thing. But I was like, I'm just trying to split this off. It's like, and I was able to do that. I just had to cut a lot of portions, like
Mm.
the unhealthy ones anyway,
Yeah.
and just I did everything I could. Um, in hindsight, it was probably not the smartest thing to do, but I did what I knew at the time.
You
But
know,
it was definitely probably better.
I don't know you personally, but you've seen the fights of the UFC fighter Paddy Pimblett.
I'm sorry.
You've seen, oh well, you know the UFC fighter Paddy Pimblett.
I
Paddy
think
the
I'm aware of that.
Paddy the Paddy the Baddy
Oh, yes,
Pimblett,
yes, yes, yes,
yes.
yes, 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 yes. Of course. Yeah,
Um, you've seen how when he's done with the fights, or done with any competition involved in combat sports, he balloons up. It's time to
yeah,
fight. He then trims and slims down. You
yes.
you've never been one to do that.
Um, I never. I don't know at the time because like I guess from my age at the time, like I was always like in high school I was always walking at 35. Um,
Okay.
and I was like, I mean I looked okay in terms of like I wasn't jacked, but I was like I was I looked all right at the time. You as I got older, that definitely you did like I definitely have some Christmas weight on me and stuff like that. So I don't think I can make I don't think I can make 125 at all. Period, and I don't plan on it. I don't think I can make 135 either. But then again, I mean, obviously, if I took the right amount of time, maybe I could. But 45, I could definitely try that. Even 50, maybe even 55, but I don't know. It would depend on what the future holds, really. But yeah, I just probably just need to look at how I need to do that the right way.
Hmm. In what in mixed martial arts, mm, okay, let me ask this question, but it's a question I ask. Well, I ask it to a lot of the fighters who are the much more they're in the smaller promotions, they're not on the big cards in the big promotions yet. So someone like yourself, you're only about 28 years old, so you still got a lot of time, a lot of fights ahead of you. Um, which of the big promotions would you like to see yourself fighting in? I mean, I know there's the obvious one, the UFC, even with the betting scandal they've got going on at the moment with James Krause and Dana White and the rest of them. Um, it's almost like a no-brainer, but again, nothing compares to asking the person themselves. As in, for you yourself, which of the big names would you like to see yourself fighting in?
Um, all of them. Yeah, UFC definitely, of course, would definitely be the home run, the home run, of course. Another one would be Bellator,
Hmm.
um, and One FC. That would definitely be right there as well. So those three would definitely be on
Hmm.
the top tier list.
Okay, One FC. I mean, still as well, the UFC is the biggest out of all of them, but I think One FC they still hold their own, especially in the Far Eastern market. Um, so if you were going to compete in One FC, you wouldn't mind potentially probably relocating to somewhere closer to where their base is, or would you still be staying and traveling in and out of the US when you've got a fight on?
Right, man. If I had the money, if I had the money to be able to do that, I would definitely do that. Um, Obviously, as of right now, I can't. But if I was able to have the proper income to be able to do like travel in and out or permanently locate for that time period,
Uh-huh.
that'd be
Okay.
great. I would love to do that. But it's not in my ball field to do as of right now. So I work with what I got.
Speaking of which, the UFC. So I was going to say to you, um, going into the UFC. In fact, no, it's not about going to the UFC. I think you explained that one already, but the betting scandal that's in the UFC has suddenly come to everybody's attention, um, especially involving James Krause. I think he casually let it slip, but he had no idea the sorts of Pandora's box he was opening, or just was carelessly giving away that answer. What's your opinion on bets being placed on fights? As in, your own coach, have you ever heard or has been done to you before? Has anyone ever placed a bet on you, hoping that maybe you would lose, even maybe asking you to take a dive to lose the fight and make sure that you win the fight, just so it could benefit them, and maybe they would make sure that you benefit from that as well.
No, I've never had that cross at all. And if that did, that'd be pretty sweet, honestly. No, but in all seriousness, like no, I've never had that come across at all. Um,
Mm.
it that is interesting. Like I've seen bits and pieces of it, and about that whole thing. That's very unfortunate. It's lame, really. But um, yeah, yeah. No.
As in, for you, as in just for your own opinion on it, though you kind of confirmed that's not happened to you. I mean, um, do you think it's that much of a big deal, or do you think that for James Krause and for other people involved, do you think there should be some serious consequence? Because when I did hear that some fighters were deliberately losing fights intentionally, I was thinking, why would you want to all of the hard work, the preparations, cutting weight, and all the sacrifices you've made, you're just throwing all of that away just for sake. You might be getting some money, fine, but overall, being the athlete that's lost that fight, you don't look good overall.
Um, you definitely don't want it to turn into unfortunately, like boxing has that type of reputation in some of those fights. You know what I mean? Like, so you definitely don't want it to turn into like that. Um, that I mean, really, that's like all I can think of because I can think of like I don't want to say the boxer's name, but his name starts with a J and his last name with a P.
Hold on,
Um,
let me try and work this out. I'm trying to remember. Can you give any clues? What country they hail from? What country do they hail from? Excuse me. Um,
United States, unfortunately, who has an older brother that
J.
yes,
The first name starts with the letter J.
I mean Jake Paul. Sorry, I don't like to. I don't want to give that
Ah,
guy. I don't want to give any of those guys credit
yeah.
for what
Look,
they're doing now.
I know I know what you're trying to. I know what you how you feel. You can't take them seriously yet until they fought someone who's on their level, their proper equal in terms of age, height, and all those things. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like for example, the Anderson Silva fight. I didn't see it because again, I'm not me personally. I guess you could say I boycott that. I boycott that type of person in general. So I saw highlights and I was just like, hmm, this is kind of weird. Someone like Anderson Silva just, and I'm not saying he did at all. I have no idea. I mean, he is a guy for his age. You know, you think he'd be kind of just this would be just a hobby. Like, why would you need to compete at this point? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a bit suspicious. But more power to him. But like I said, like in terms of the betting thing that you were talking about, you just don't want it to like you don't want it to be like the boxing situation with certain fights that has happened.
Mhm.
That, in my opinion, you
Mm,
want to place a bet on fighter, cool. Um,
yes.
I don't think the fighter should really take that. I don't know. I just like if somebody came up to me and said like, "Hey, if you take a dive for this amount of money, you know, and if it's good money, me personally, like I'm just like, no, no. Why would I do that? Like, what? It, I don't know. It's just stupid to me. First, you're taking more. You would take more damage, I guess. Like
Exactly.
you,
Yeah.
if you leave yourself open, it's just enough for you to get like more damage that you're trying to get in the first place. I don't know. It just seems pointless. You know?
Yeah, yeah, because this betting scandal thing of the UFC, the James Krause thing, is what I'm sure it definitely involves Dana White. You know, I think it's going to be like one of those cases whereby a domino effect is going to be happening. James Krause, I think from what I've heard, the FBI in the US has seized all of his phones and gadgets and whatever. And again, it's like one of those domino effects. I think they're going to lean on him, and then other people are going to be coming out of the woodwork. Other names will start cropping up. He will have to start to talk because even if he's going to go down and be punished, I don't think he wants to be punished on his own, if you
Right.
know what I mean. So I
Yeah,
think
absolutely.
at some point he's going to have to talk and start spitting as well, putting names out there, that kind of thing. But let's see what happens. And people have said potentially this sort of thing could ruin the UFC, you know.
It
But
definitely could,
yeah. Mm,
which is sad.
no, I know. And whilst we're talking about the UFC, um, you seem like quite a marketable person, quite a fighter that can be marketed well. That can be if you were to find well, maybe not just the UFC, but maybe even Bellator or ONE FC. You look like someone that the fighting promotion could make turn into a star. Um,
I appreciate that.
would you also like to indulge in some trash talking? Because
No,
at all, no.
no, no, not at all. No, that stuff is for video games. That
Wow.
type of stuff is for video games. No, not at all. Not in this, in my opinion. No. Um, there's calculated ways you can go about that. Like for example, Connor. Um, it was funny.
Hmm.
It was funny, and it was towards someone who kind of took it very, very like seriously, which happens to everybody. But there was a way that up until Habib, obviously, um, and obviously with Kobe Covington, that's a worst case. Uh, Definitely something you don't want to do. Like in my personal opinion, I have no reason to trash talk at all, unless the person is talking to me while I'm answering a question. then I have no problem snapping back at you at all and then saying what I have to say on my mind. There's going to be a lot of cussing in there. I will cuss like a sailor. I have no filter on that at all. But in terms of trash talking in general, there are ways that you can go about it. Um, just even with call outs, make sure they happen instead
Mhm.
of just instead of just saying it. Because how many times have we heard about like John Jones or Brock Lesnar, especially when John Jones was calling out Brock Lesnar, and we haven't seen that guy since UFC 200. How many times
Yeah,
are we gonna like? How many times are we gonna hear that? How many times are we gonna hear about all these other fighters that are calling each other out, and they don't happen? Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's
mm,
it's stupid. You either make it happen or you don't.
yeah,
In that
yeah.
regard, and in terms of talking back to each other, you better be calculated. Like it better make sense instead of just stupidness. In my, you know, and
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we're all martial artists here. Like I'll be as respectful as I possibly can. But if you're gonna be disrespectful to me, I'm going to say something, especially if I'm going to be interrupted. So that's yeah. But I have no desire to do that unless I'm being talked to, because
Okay.
that's that's the bottom line.
Okay. You're clearly not as innocent as you look.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
I guess.
no, no, that's good. You want to, as in, because I have to admit that certain people do indulge in the trash talking, probably just to build up the hype and the attention around the fights, probably so increases the fight person, whatever else involved. It does kind of okay. For me, it kind of like it does probably change somewhat the way I look at you, but as a person. But I do know that there are some instances whereby the promoter has told the fighter that you've got to change where how you are, otherwise you're going to cut you, and that's what they did to Kobe Covington. And yeah, like you said, that was a worst case scenario.
Yes, um, that's true. Um, you didn't have to, however, you didn't have to insult an entire country that could possibly kill
That's
you.
another one. Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I'm saying?
Hmm.
You like that's the bottom line. Like you could have done it in any other shape or form to not have a country literally try and kill you, throw stuff at you, um, possibly wait out in the buses to get to your hotel. Because I heard about that where the people of Brazil would probably be waiting by the buses, and they probably, like I said, they're probably throwing shit at the buses, trying to break in and try and kill you. There's so many different ways that you can do it in a playful manner and make your point. Just don't do it in a country that's very likely to get you killed. You know?
But yeah, both him and Shel Sonnen.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Um, finally, just if you're to, as in any of those promotions, like for each promotion does vary, but let's say for the UFC, um, which of the weight classes and weight divisions would you like to fight in? Would you make weight to probably fight in a particular division that's probably there's a significant work to do in terms of your weight to be able to compete in that division?
Uh, excuse me. The majority of my fights have been at 135,
Okay.
but that's when I was like kind of walking around that. So, and obviously me being 28, it's like I said, I just have to cut out the bad portions of in terms of my diet and stuff like that, which is not it's not a problem. It's just you just have to. It's just a grind sometimes. Weightlifting, I need to do that a lot more. That's for sure. Good. Yeah. So I could see myself probably getting more into 45 but or 45 division, a lot more, because like currently right now I'm like 160, and that's my Christmas weight. That's what, because
Okay.
normally I would be like, I was like a buck 55 plus before the whole Christmas break type stuff. So I just been chilling, eating what I wanted, stuff like that. It all goes to my stomach for some reason. Everything else seems fine. But yeah, 35 or 45, probably more 45 in terms, because
Sure.
I do wanna bulk up a little bit more in terms of like in that regard. But yeah, most likely probably just 45 the better they did it in there.
Look, before I let you go, are there any sponsors, affiliates, coaches, corners, or just people who, family and friends, those who you that have been with you on this journey, that you've come so far and achieved quite a bit? Is there anyone who you want to give a shout out to?
Man, that's a long list.
Mm.
But like it you I don't know if you've heard this, like especially for those on the spectrum, it takes a village to take care of one, and that's very true. And we've had people come in and come out of our family and stuff like that, and made very big impact. Um, to my friends and family, I thank them a lot, you know, and they, you know, it's been a big support, stuff like that. Um, my coaches at Lions Crest, my first gym,
Mhm.
especially, they've been there through all my fights up until the last amateur fight I had, and they encouraged me to go out and train somewhere else. And that's where I started, because I started training at Brunson's gym now.
Sure.
Uh, prior to that last amateur fight, I was going over to Brunson for sparring, feel like, and getting, you know filling them out, and they have great teammates. Those guys are awesome, and they made me part of their family, which is, I can't thank them enough. And being part of that gym now, and I'm still in very, very good connections with my old gym, Lions Crest, Mike, Sydney, the couple who own that. Like, they put their hearts and souls into what they do there, and especially for not just like the adults, but the kids in that area, because Burgos is very, very small, and very like, there's not a lot for kids to do. So, making sure that they have, like, good, healthy, things to do. And like I said, Brunson's MMA, I thank Derek Brunson to even, like when I went over there to say, like, hey, I'm gonna start training here. The receptionist there, um, that was saying, like, hey, yeah, like, me and Derek have been talking about you, actually, especially after your last fight. And having the thought of, like, like somebody like Derek Brunson in that position, the where he is, I like, man, it makes you really think, like, wow, that, like, something's here. Like, we just, and I'm not gonna lie, it's been very difficult, especially after the last fight. It was definitely not like right headspace. But going back to thank yous, um, I can't thank them enough. They're great people there, great partners and stuff like that. I appreciate, and I appreciate people like you, because you're not the first podcast MMA podcast to reach out to me and stuff like that. And the fact that, just like, the story that I show the video that I showed you, that was supposed to go to Washington D.C. That was
The-
supposed to go. That was supposed to be meant for something. Obviously, with certain people getting in the office at the time, that changed.
oh,
Um,
right.
and that was supposed to meant to change a lot of things. Like, it was supposed to really open people's eyes, and it did to an extent. But it is what it is, really. But and I thank you for giving me this opportunity to even
Mm.
speak. Just like, and, and I don't seek it. I really don't. Like, I just I just try to just live to my best.
No, I actually appreciate you coming on because it's nice and quite heartwarming to hear your story that despite all the obstacles placed in your path, you still persevered. You and your family, especially your father and in, in particular your mother, you know, those people, I have to say that it's quite annoying when someone just, although depending on the situation, you can kind of work out why they've done what they've done. When someone just cuts off all contact unexpectedly, and you get no closure, no explanation for why they've done what they've done. It's offensive. It really does get to you. And why I did nothing wrong to you? I was very respectful and polite, and you give me the impression actually, even when I did all those things, it was still wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, I would like to get you back on the show in the near future because I really do enjoy the
Yes,
conversation we
sir.
had.
Absolutely.
Only thing is, I should actually do it at a time where it's earlier and where I can actually get up an air of the house or somewhere else where I can actually just get my equipment set up and start the time that we agreed to start on.
Hey,
Um,
no, man. Hey, stuff happens. It's all good.
Thank you for being so patient. Thank you. And yes, guys, if you did enjoy this episode, please don't forget to leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It really, really does help me when you do that. You can also catch the podcast episodes at Spotify, Apple iTunes, and also Google Podcasts. And there's a plethora of other smaller audio platforms whereby you can also catch the episodes as well. Timothy, thank you once again. Definitely be seeing you again.
Thank you,
Thank you
brother.
very much. Take care.
Thank
See
you.
ya.
Take care.